And once I slide this in, it gets nice and stiff. Giggity. Oh yeah, that feels so good. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. When I decided to purchase the Lumix S5IIX, one of the features that I found very intriguing was the ability to record to an SSD over USB-C. And upon receiving the camera, one of the first things I tried was recording to an SSD over USB-C, and it worked pretty much as you would expect it to. It worked perfectly. I started adding accessories to the camera at this time. Two of the big ones were the Atomos Ninja V monitor and hard drive, and the Kondor Blue cage. Now when I went to order the Kondor Blue cage, one of the options I had to decide with was the top handle. They had just come out with this new handle that receives the SanDisk Pro blade. However, after having enough time with the Ninja V itself, I came to the realization that under normal use, I'd be recording to the Ninja V, so I decided against the SanDisk Pro blade handle. Another factor that played into this decision was that as I upgrade to larger capacity M.2 hard drives in my various computers, I end up with these leftover M.2 drives. So I've been placing these leftover drives into these cheap yet effective drive enclosures from SSK that I get off Amazon. So if I could use these with my camera, I wouldn't have to spend any additional money on hard drives for cam usage. So I got thinking further, what are the actual use cases where I would use this? The first one, probably the less likely one, would be if I'm recording to the Ninja V and I run out of hard drive space. I could plop one of these on top of the monitor, quick switch cables and stuff, and then start recording to the SSD, which would be cool. But when I do that, I would have to run the camera off the battery since I'd be consuming the USB-C port. The second and probably more likely use case is if I'm shooting remotely, so I'm on a trip or walking my gear into somewhere like on a hike. I'd strip the camera down to just the cage. I'd ditch the top handle, ditch the Ninja V, ditch the DJI Mic transceiver, etc., etc. So at this point, I decided to model up a bracket specifically for this SSK M.2 enclosure, and I wanted it to be able to be usable for either of the use cases I just described, either sitting on top of the Ninja V monitor or somewhere else on the cage. So now we'll go ahead and take a closer look at the bracket designs I came up with. We are in SOLIDWORKS here looking at the simple bracket that's meant to sit atop the Ninja V monitor. Basically a two-piece design that clamps together on the SSD via those two M4 socket head cap screws. It then affixes to the monitor via that 1/4-20 flathead cap screw and the two RE pins. So we'll print this out and mount it on top of the monitor. And here it is mounted, and we'll slide in the SSD. And we could clamp that further if we wanted to with the screws on the back. So, simple design, works well. All we gotta do now is take a USB cable and run it from the SSD down to the camera. So now we'll mount it to a different position on the camera cage. In this instance on the left side, there's a nice spot for it. Go ahead and slide that SSD in. And you'll notice now that it does serve as almost a stubby handle, so I decided to make an alternate configuration that was more handle-ish. And the main change I had to do was to make the whole handle clamp longer so you get your pinky on it, and then shift the fasteners to essentially move the whole handle down so that your left and right hands are at the same sort of relative height. Here's the final design configuration I came up with for my little handle clamp, and you'll note how well my fingers find those finger grooves. So we'll go ahead and install this on the left side of the cage. Just line that up with the RE pin receiver. Note my relief for this Rosetta wheel here, and we'll just go ahead and tighten this down. Now this design, this two-piece design, does utilize the rigidity of this aluminum extrusion, and once I slide this in, it gets nice and stiff. Giggity. Oh yeah, that feels so good. I'm really happy with how this turned out. It just feels very natural. Stability feels really good when holding. So really the last thing I have to do, I'll just verify that the USB-C cord clears. And it does, even in this kind of non-optimal straight version here. I did find a right angle to right angle cable that was somewhat short. I ordered that off Amazon, so that should be here soon, and we'll go ahead and try that cable out when it gets in. But I guess the last thing I'm gonna do here is run this a little bit. If I really like this, I might just print out a backup to have in my little kit of parts whenever I go shoot. Or I might decide to machine this out of aluminum. And in that case, we will go ahead and make an update video when that time comes. But anyway, that's it. I just wanted to share this cool little thing I made for the Lumix S5IIX and its capability to utilize recording over USB-C to SSD, and how I sort of customize that towards my specific cage setup. Well, hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.